Welcome everyone who's here. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna get started. My name is Kat Stoehr. I am a social justice studies major, and here is Shannon.
And my name is Shannon. I'm an environmental engineering major, and we're Skyline students and interns with AFT 1493, which is the faculty union here at SMCCD.
Thank you all so much for being here. This event was really created in collaboration with students, with faculty, with community members, and with the help of AFT 1493 so that we can bring awareness to some inequities faced by students and faculty alike here in our district. This teach-in is going to be primarily focused on the funding of education. And the reason why we wanted to highlight funding is because in our world, money is power. And when that money is collected, spent, and shared in inequitable ways, we're going to get inequitable results. So knowing how the money is spent in your district and at your college can be a key way in understanding why issues are present here as well. We're going to start the event by doing some really short polls with you all so you can get a quick idea of some of the basic facts surrounding this issue of pay inequity in our district and how it affects the broader community. So our first poll should be popping up soon. It's what is the percentage of SMCCD faculty that are part-time? And if you're not sure about the difference between SMCCD faculty, or sorry, part-time and full-time faculty, we're going to get into that in just a second. So go ahead and, let's see, answer the first question there.
You don't want us to continue, right?
No, just answer the first question. Yeah. It looks like I can't see the results yet. All right. I hope those answers are trickling in.
The submit button isn't working. I wonder if it's because it wants us to do all of them.
Yeah, it looks like technical difficulty. Um, we have 4 questions. Why don't we just go ahead and answer all 4 questions right now, and then we'll talk about the answers later. We'll just break them down each one at a time. Thank you, everyone.
I think we have to do that.
Yeah. All right. Get those answers in. All right.
Okay. We got about 55% participating, so maybe we can just take a few more seconds for anybody else wanting to participate. I know there are a bunch of questions. So it looks like we're up to 2/3. Let's just take 30 more seconds for anyone else desiring to participate, and then I'll go ahead and end the poll.
And we're not grading you on this.
Yeah, just take some guesses.
This is a fun way to learn new facts.
Okay, great. And now we can see those results. Okay, so we're going to look at this first question. What percentage of SMCCD faculty are part-time? So it looks like the majority of you went for the 50 to 75% range, and then we have some answers lower than that and some answers higher. So most of you are correct. The number is actually 58%. So around 60% of our faculty here are part-time. And that distinction between full-time and part-time is important because it has implications on the conditions for all faculty. While full-time faculty are paid on a yearly salary basis, have healthcare provided by the district, and enjoy job security through the tenure system, it's really a different story for part-time faculty. They're hired to teach one or more classes with no real job security since they're paid by class in a piecework kind of fashion. They also don't receive functional healthcare benefit from the district, and they're often working jobs on multiple campuses just to get enough work. And this means that many part-time faculty don't actually work part-time. They're just forced to work at multiple institutions in order to piece together a full-time job and a living wage. This two-tier system is highly inequitable, and it puts our part-timers at an unfair systemic disadvantage that can have a ripple effect on the experiences of students as well. And we'll continue to explore that more today with our speakers. All right, now Shannon's going to take us through our second question.
So just following up from the last question, I'm sure we've all heard about some of our professors working at 1, 2, or even 3 institutions. So we're going to lead this into, do you think that part-time and full-time instructors receive the same pay per class? And most of you answered no. I'm sure there's a lot of instructors here that are also here, so they know. But unfortunately, part-time and full-time teachers do not get the same pay. Full-time instructors earn more per class than part-time, even though they perform the same amount of work in and out of the classroom to prepare for their classes. So not only is the structure of how they are paid different, but the amount that they are paid is also different as well. And Kat?
Yeah. So now that we're sort of like moving into this, part-time and full-time difference, there's also issues facing full-time faculty as well. So the question, do they have paid parental leave in the district? It was almost split there, but the correct answer is no. There is no paid parental leave. So full-time faculty members often have to choose between working or spending time with their family, and they may decide that they can't afford to have children at all because of this. So what happens in our district and in other districts as well is that faculty in a variety of positions here on campus are not receiving appropriate pay and benefits for their work that will allow them to thrive. And this can directly affect the ability of students to thrive as well. And as we share and sort of collaborate in the same environment together. For us as students and fellow workers and community members, it sets a frustrating precedent at our college that equal work does not mean equal treatment or pay. And that pay and benefit inequity is something we're taught that we just have to put up with.
And then for our last question, has a class of yours, either that you were enrolled in or teaching, ever been canceled? I'm not seeing the results anymore.
It looks like 56% of people said yes and 44% of people said no.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So still a very considerable amount. If your classes are being canceled, it's obviously coming at the expense of your graduation rate. So canceling classes can be a result of low enrollment, but when the district cancels classes that students want, they are either forced to move to a different college, which also contributes to low enrollment overall. This process also leaves faculty and students behind. For teachers, hours of preparation goes into setting up the class and the coursework. And when the class is canceled, much of that work is devalued. They also aren't compensated for this time that they had already prepared for the class, making sure that their first few weeks of their class are ready. For part-timers, especially if their class is canceled, they are often not offered a class to take its place, and consequently, their income suffers. For students, a canceled class can mean a missed course requirement, leading to a delay in their goal to transfer or graduate on time. So placing an additional burden on counselors as well, because they often have to fix your ed plans. Keep in mind, many of our students also have families and work that they need to plan their schedules around. So that means replanning those schedules, and often times it will create a delay in their education. The administration is disconnected from how difficult it is to navigate course requirements and processes to transfer and graduate for each major, because there's so many of them. When the transition back to campus occurred last semester, the district expressed the fact that they chose to cancel online classes in order to pressure students to come back to face-to-face learning, even though there was a survey for students on what modalities they would prefer. This meant that the reality for most students is that we all opted for online courses, and that meant that a lot of our Skyline students went to CSM and Kenyatta, where there were more online classes offered. So more thorough surveying of students is needed before decisions about canceling classes or offering classes in different modalities should be made. This reflects a larger pattern of untransparent, inequitable, and insufficient outreach in our district that may be one of the contributors to our schools decreasing enrollment for the last 10 years. So it's not just the pandemic, although the pandemic has rapidly increased that. It's been the last 10 years at Skyline College. When administrators do outreach to students to create a more equitable environment, the voices of students are often dismissed and not taken into account if it doesn't fit the quote unquote or fit into the quote unquote budget. So next.
Yeah, thank you all for participating in these polls. We really wanted to connect these structural issues to a personal experience that many of us in this event are facing, whether it's from a faculty perspective, whether it's from a student perspective. These structural procedures do really impact our day-to-day life and our day-to-day experience in education. And we've seen and will continue to see throughout this event how inequity presents itself in our district. But the important question we'll also be looking at is, why does that happen? Where does the money come from, and why isn't it it being used better. There's this pattern of top-down decisions made from leaders at the state level and at the district level that is not prioritizing providing faculty with the pay and benefits they need to thrive, and by extension, create conditions for students to thrive as well. We live in an area with abundant revenue from property taxes, and part of that money is used to fund our education system. But that money is not being distributed in a way that promotes equitable learning and working conditions for students and staff and faculty. Our district is deemed something called basic aid or community funded. And this just means that a large portion of our funding comes from local property taxes instead of state funding. And what this means is as property taxes have been increasing, for some reason, that money has not been going into increases in salaries for faculty and staff. There's actually a law in California entitled, quote, the 50% law, and this requires at least 50% of the budget to go to faculty salaries. But in 2020-2021, our district only spent 41% of our budget on those salaries. It was the lowest percentage in the entire state. And our district claims to be student first. And we've created a budget with board approval that isn't spending enough of its wealth on faculty salaries, which would provide more high quality classes for students. While the last few years have certainly been filled with unexpected and challenging events for many of us, it reflects a deeper issue in our district in which the needs of those who make up the largest portion of our community are not being prioritized by district administrators and our board of trustees. Solutions such as smaller classes with more faculty, better conditions for part-time and full-time faculty, more transparency regarding how classes are scheduled and canceled so that you understand more about what's happening in your education are all changes that will have benefits for our students and our faculty. What you'll continue to learn more about today from all of our wonderful speakers and activities is how power structures and their ability to control and manage how education funding is dispersed really deeply shapes our collective experience here at SMCCD.